Hello, hello. I think I might be live. Let's see. Yes, I do see my avatar, my icon bouncing there. So I am live. I don't know if anyone is here yet. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with a reading of the Constitution of the United States. I have put a PDF version of it on the screen so that you may read along. I'll probably make it a little bit larger because I know a lot of people are on their phones. I am doing very well. Thank you, Viper. I hope you are well as well. Um, I'm going to try not to do too much discussion as I'm reading, but I will stop occasionally to discuss some of the things that are pertinent to what's going on in our world, or maybe a history of certain parts of the Constitution. The first part is basically straightforward. I don't know how far we'll get in this today because my throat will probably get sore from reading out loud so much, but I definitely plan to get through the first part of the Constitution and the articles that follow. Then I'm thinking we may break the Bill of Rights into another section, the Bill of Rights being the first 10 amendments to the Constitution that were ratified, and then do the following remaining amendments to the Constitution after that. I'm thinking that as we do the amendments, there will probably be more discussion, but the Constitution itself, with the articles that were put in place at the same time, the original set of articles are pretty straightforward. And I believe that the amendments are where we're going to have a lot more discussion. And anyone in the side chat who wishes to, discuss what I'm reading, please go ahead. I will not be looking at chat because it's hard to read and then also look at chat at the same time. But please have your discussion in the side chat, and I will definitely look at it from time to time. Hey, Freeside, it's great to see you. Anyone who is in the chat, as people come in, please say hi to them, welcome them, let them know that I am not ignoring them, but that it's impossible to read the Constitution and the chat at the same time. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so let me go ahead and get over here to the Constitution. This would be so much easier if I had two monitors, but I do not. All right, here we go. So this is the Constitution of the United States. I downloaded this from the National Constitution Center. And I'm sure we're all familiar with how the Constitution begins. I am going to make it a little bit larger. So here we go. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Again, very straightforward. This is where we are starting to set up how the government will have checks and balances. We can discuss that as we get more into this. But I think checks and balances were very important. They still are to this day. So again, in Section 1, they are granting that all the powers of the legislative branch of our government shall be vested in a Congress of the United States. That Congress will consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. Section 2. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislature. So we're setting up that voting for our House of Representatives will be done every second year. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained to the age of 25 years and been 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. So we're setting up the guidelines that the person must be 25 years of age, have been a citizen of the United States for 7 years, and live in the state in which they wish to represent. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of 3 persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, 3/5 of all other persons. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such manner as they shall by law direct. The number of representatives shall not exceed 1 for every 30,000, but each state shall have at least 1 representative. And until such enumeration shall be made, the state of New Hampshire shall be entitled to choose 3, Massachusetts 8, Rhode Island and Providence Plantations 1, Connecticut 5, New York 6, New Jersey 4, Pennsylvania 8, Delaware 1, Maryland 6, Virginia 10, North Carolina 5, South Carolina 5, and Georgia 3. Of course, this was very important back when this was written, and it provides for how the representatives shall be set up as populations change, as other states, may be added, as people move from place to place, all of that. When vacancies happen in the representation from any state, the executive authority thereof shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies. The House of Representatives shall choose their speaker and other officers, and shall have the sole power of impeachment. Section 3. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof, for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. Immediately after they shall be assembled in consequence of the first election, they shall be divided as equally as may be into 3 classes. The seats of the senators of the first class shall be vacated at the expiration of the 2nd year, of the second class at the expiration of the 4th year, and of the 3rd class at the expiration of the 6th year, so that 1/3 may be chosen every 2nd year. And if vacancies happen by resignation or otherwise, during the recess of the legislature of any state, the executive thereof may make temporary appointments until the next meeting. Oops, went too far. Sorry about that. Oh no, I went too far that way. I am so sorry. Where is my... Okay. Where was I? Make temporary appointments until the next meeting of the legislature, which shall then fill such vacancies. Section 4. No, wait. Why is it skipping? Okay. No person shall be a senator who shall not have attained the age of 30 years and been 9 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state for which he shall be chosen. The Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be equally divided. So in the case of a tie vote in the Senate, the Vice President breaks the tie. I'm just getting a sip here. Sorry about that. The Senate shall choose their other officers and also a President pro tempore in the absence of the Vice President, or when he shall exercise the office of President of the United States. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. My throat is starting to get sore already. I'm so sorry. Judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States, but the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. Okay, I'm going to pause right here. Let me get back over to the chat. All right. So glad you're still here listening. I do see that there are people here. Good. All right. Let me take a sip of my coffee and I will get back to section 4. All right. The times, section 4, the times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations except as to the places of choosing senators. The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meeting shall be on the first Monday in December, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. Section 5. Each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own members, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business. But a smaller number may adjourn from day to day, and may be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members in such manner, and under such penalties as each house may provide. Each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. Each house shall keep a journal of its proceedings and from time to time publish the same, excepting such parts as may in their judgment require secrecy. And the yeas and nays of the members of either house on any question shall, at the desire of 1/5 of those present, be entered on the journal. Neither house, during the session of Congress, shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days, nor to any other place than that in which the two houses shall be sitting. Section 6. The senators and representatives shall receive a compensation for their services to be ascertained by law and paid out of the Treasury of the United States. They shall, in all cases except treason, felony, and breach of the peace, be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to and returning from the same, and for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in any other place. No senator or representative shall, during the time for which he was elected, be appointed to any civil office under the authority of the United States, which shall have been created, or the emoluments whereof shall have been increased during such a time. And no person holding any office under the United States shall be a member of either house during his continuance in office. Section 7. All bills for raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. Every bill which shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it become a law, be presented to the President of the United States. If he approve, he shall sign it, but if not, he shall return it, with his objections to that House in which it shall have originated, who shall enter the objections at large on their journal, and proceed to reconsider it. If after such reconsideration 2/3 of that House shall agree to pass the bill, it shall be sent, together with the objections, to the other House, by which it shall likewise be considered, and if approved by 2/3 of that House, it shall become a law. But in all such cases, the votes of both houses shall be determined by yeas and nays, and the names of the persons voting for and against the bill shall be entered on the journal of each house respectively. If any bill shall not be returned by the President within 10 days, Sundays excepted, after it shall have been presented to him, the same shall be a law, in like manner as if he had signed it, unless the Congress by their adjournment prevent its return, in which case it shall not be a law. Every order, resolution, or vote to which the concurrence of the Senate and the House of Representatives may be necessary, except on a question of adjournment, shall be presented to the President of the United States, and before the same shall take effect, shall be approved by him, or being disapproved by him, shall be passed by 2/3 of the Senate and House of Representatives, according to the rules and limitations prescribed in the case of a bill. Section 8. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. Pardon me, I needed a sip. Okay, so shall be uniform throughout the United States, to borrow money on credit of the United States, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes, to establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States, to coin money regulate the value thereof and of foreign coin, and fix the standard of weights and measures, to provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States, to establish post offices and post roads, to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right of their respective writings and discoveries, to constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court, to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations, to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water, to raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years, to provide and maintain a navy, to make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces, to provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions, to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. Oops. It's very sensitive when I go to switch pages. Back up. All right, Section 7. All bills for raising revenue shall originate. Did I already do this one? Yes, I already did this one. I need to find an easier way to switch pages. Okay, so here, let me. All right. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square. Wait. 8. Am I missing a page in here? No. Okay. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles squared, as may, by cession of particular states, and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the same shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings, and to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States or in any department or officer thereof. I am going to grab my pocket Constitution, which I have full control over changing the pages. And I will try to change the page on the screen so that you can read along. If I'm not able to do that, I apologize. Okay, so we are on Section 9. I have my pocket Constitution here. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, not exceeding $10 for each person. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended, unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. No capitalization or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the consensus or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. I'm just making sure that I still have that. Yeah. Hey, hold on one second. Let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen here because I'm not going to be able to. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, sorry about that. We had a dog get loose and come barging in to get head scratches. Hi, Amy Michelle. Hello, Conklin. It's good to see you. Yes, only Congress can levy taxes. Yes, and these are the things that we'll probably discuss more as we go along. I just kind of wanted to get the reading done, and then we can have discussions and go back and find why we're having such a tumultuous time right now as far as the Constitution. Give me 1 second. I do need to take a sip of coffee and rest my voice. I will be back in 1 minute. Please get any drink you may need. Okay, hopefully I am prepared to continue. Speaking clearly is causing vibrations in my sinus cavities, which happen when we speak, but it is it is playing heck with my sinuses. Okay, where did I leave off? I think I might have turned the page. Okay, no direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. No preference shall be given to any regulation of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over those of another, nor shall vessels bound to or from one state be obliged to enter, clear, or pay duties in another. No money shall be drawn from the treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, except of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state. I'm sorry, my voice seemed to change while I was reading that part. I apologize. That was not very professional of me. Section 10. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay any imposts or duties on imports or exports, except, sorry, I had a fly land on my paper. Where am I? Except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws. And the net produce of all duties and imposts laid by any state on imports or exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States, and all such laws shall be subject to the revision and control of the Congress. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops, or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state, or with a foreign power, or engage in war unless actually invaded, or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay. Okay, so that is Article 1. We'll move on to Article 2. I'm in the midst of taking a break from putting a new coating on my roof. I'm going to be back on the line. Okay. Well, you get done what you need to do, and I appreciate you listening. I don't know. I think I bit off more than I could chew, thinking I could get through all the articles today. Let's definitely try and get through Article 2, and then we may come back to Article 3, which is going to deal with Article 2 is going to do. Okay, so Article 1 dealt with the legislative power. Article 2 is going to deal with the executive power, and Article 3 deals with the judicial power. Those are the three branches of our U.S. government: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. If I can get through those first three, I will call it a success. So let me try and get through the executive power and the judicial power, and then I know that when I come back to this, we will have already covered the three branches and their rules of engagement. So we move on to Article 2, which is where we start the executive power. Article 2, Section 1, the executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the Vice President chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress, but no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed an elector. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for 2 persons, of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves, and they shall make a list of all the persons voted for and the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify and transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall then be counted. The person having the greatest number of votes shall be the President. If such number be a majority of the whole number of electors appointed, and if there be more than one who have such majority, and have an equal number of votes, then the House of Representatives shall immediately choose by ballot one of them for president. And if no person have a majority, then from the 5 highest on the list, the said House shall, in like manner, choose the president. But in choosing the president, the votes shall be taken by states, the representation from each state having 1 vote. A quorum for this purpose shall consist of a member or members from 2/3 of the states, and a majority of all the states shall be necessary to a choice. In every case, after the choice of the president, the person having the greatest number of votes of the electors shall be the vice president. But if there should remain 2 or more who have equal votes, the Senate shall choose from them by ballot the vice president. And of course, we know that a lot of these things that I'm talking about have been changed by future amendments, and we will get to the amendments. So this description of choosing the president and the vice president were later changed by the 12th Amendment. And so when we get to that, we can refer back to this to see the reasoning for the need for the amendment and all of that. So keep in mind that what I'm reading right now is the original intention of the Constitution. And that then we have the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, which are known as the Bill of Rights. They were ratified and they became the Bill of Rights because they saw a need for some change. And there have been many amendments after that because as times change, and as technologies change, and as populations change, and as, information and science and anything else, there will always be a need for change in a government. And so as long as we have our Constitution set on how we will deal with these changes, what is acceptable, what's not, whose job is it to do this, whose job, the checks and balances, and the 3 levels, or the 3 the 3 parts of our government checking and balancing one another. That's what makes this work. Okay, so the Congress may determine the time of choosing the electors and the day on which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States. No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of the Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. In case of the removal of the president from office, or of his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of the said office, the same shall devolve on the vice president, and the Congress may by law provide for the case of removal, death, resignation, or inability, both of the president and the vice president, declaring what officer shall then act as president, and such officer shall act accordingly until the disability be removed or the president shall be elected. The president shall, at stated times, receive for his services a compensation which shall neither be increased nor diminished during the period for which he shall have been elected, and he shall not receive within that period any other emolument from the United States or any of them. Before he enters on the execution of his office, he shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So we see there that it is the Constitution that the president takes an oath to. And I think that's very important. I think we all get very wrapped up in flags and symbols, and people. but it is the Constitution of the United States that the President has affirmed his oath to. Section 2. The President shall be Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of several states when called into the actual service of the United States. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of the respective officers. And he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. He shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provide 2/3 of the senators present concur, and he shall nominate, and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law. But the Congress may by law vest the appointment of such inferior officers as they think proper, in the President alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. The President shall have power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate by granting commissions which shall expire at the end of their next session. Section 3. He, being the President, shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the state of the Union and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may, on extraordinary occasions, convene both houses and either of them, and in the case of disagreement between them, with respect to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. He shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, and shall commission all the officers of the United States. Section 4. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for the conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. And that is the end of Article 2, the presidential powers. Now we will move on to Article 3, which covers the judicial power of the United States. Article 3, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges both of the Supreme and inferior courts shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States and the treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizen of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming land under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all the other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exemptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state where the said crimes shall have been committed, But when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such place or places as Congress may by law have directed. Okay. Some of these things that I've just gone over were changed by the 11th Amendment. So keep that in mind again. This is the original, and we have our amendments that will follow. Section 3, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. Okay, so that is the end of Article 3 regarding the judicial power. Let's see, Article 4 goes over the powers of the states themselves. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop at that. We've covered the 3 tiers of government and how they shall each operate, how they shall be put into office, whether through election or through being appointed, what the terms of their limits are, the terms of the requirements for being in that office. Again, those 3 offices and the 3 branches of the United States government are the legislative, which has Congress, which is the House of Representatives, and the Senate. And then the executive, which is the office of the president. And then the judiciary, which is the Supreme Court and its under courts. So we've covered that very well. I feel like I made some headway today. If you want to discuss anything now, my attention is on the chat. Like I said, a lot of these articles were amended, and we will go over those when we get to the amendments. Keep in mind, I keep repeating this because I think these are the important things when we want to have intelligent conversation about things like this. Keep in mind the 3 branches of the government. They were all put there to provide checks and balances so that one branch of the government didn't have undue power. This was to keep the other branches of the government in line. In the past, when we had when people were ruled by kings had ultimate power. There were no checks and balances, and this is one of the many things that caused us to become our own country. And we've proven that this can work, that these checks and balances can work when they are faithfully taken care of and applied. You're welcome, Amy. Hi, Carrie. It's good to see you. Hello, Evelyn. It's good to see you. So, yes, remember, 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. Also, keep in mind, as we go on, that when we get into the amendments, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution are known as the Bill of Rights. They were the first 10 amendments that were ratified to the Constitution. Of course, there have been more since then, but the first 10 were ratified and were named as the Bill of Rights. They saw a need for changes as problems or situations would pop up. They learned that you can deal with them, but you have to do it in the manner laid out by the Constitution. If nothing else, I feel like having a guide like the Constitution and then ratifying amendments as things occur, as technologies change, as populations change, I think that brought a lot of peace and security to people, knowing that these checks and balances were in place and that they were not willy-nilly overridden by one person, that these were taken seriously, that that there was a solemn oath to the Constitution. Unitary executive theory. Let me look that up, Evelyn. I am not going to pretend that off the top of my head I know what that is. The unitary executive theory is a legal doctrine in the U.S. constitutional law asserting that the U.S. president has sole and absolute control over the entire executive branch of government, stemming from the Article 2 vesting clause. Proponents believe this grants the president the power to remove any executive official at will to ensure their policies are carried out, while opponents argue it conflicts with constitutional checks and balances, leading to concerns about excessive presidential power and potential autocratic tendencies. Thank you, Evelyn. I was not aware of that term. Yes, Project 2025. I was actually going to do a reading of Project 2025 back in the day, before the elections and everything that took place, but I never got around to it. So I'm trying to keep to my word, and regardless of if anyone is really interested in showing up for my reading of the Constitution, I do intend to finish it. I think it's that important that even if I'm just reading it to myself, it needs to be there. So our checks and balances definitely are out of whack. And when those checks and balances are out of whack, we notice that people feel more insecure, that they feel fearful, that they don't know what they can or cannot depend on. And I know not everyone enjoys security. There are people who enjoy the heck out of chaos. Otherwise, chaos would never happen. But for the most part, I think most people find themselves being very dysregulated during times of insecurity and uncertainty with the way that things work. I mean, things as frivolous as a baseball game have rules set in stone of how you handle things, of how things are done, of who has what authority and who keeps that authority in check, and we understand it that in recreational games rules are needed. So when the rules of our governance start becoming willy-nilly, that causes a lot of insecurity, I believe, anyway. It causes insecurity in the job market. It causes insecurity in financial markets. It causes insecurity at the grocery store, in everything. It expands out into every part of our lives. And I feel that that's what made our Constitution so great, was that we knew that whenever a problem appeared or popped up or changes occurred, we could look to it and say, look, it's been set out for us, and here's how we deal with it, and here's whose job it is, and who they need to check with, and where we need to hold elections, and where we need to be held accountable, where we need to give our reports and our numbers and our spendings and all of those things. We knew that. We had a map for it. And our leader, our president, whoever, was only beholden to that Constitution. That is the only oath taken, is to protect the Constitution of the United States in every choice and decision and matter. So I appreciate you guys coming and listening to my reading. Like I said, we will start with uh, what Article 4, which has to do with the responsibilities and the powers of the states themselves. I will try to do that within the next day or two, maybe tomorrow about the same time. And like I said, I love having these discussions. There's not really too much to discuss in the original document because we know that there are amendments coming up. Once we get into the amendments, there will be more room for discussion and debate. And I really hope to see people in here discussing and debating. Nothing would make me happier. People have died defending our Constitution. And I don't think that should be taken lightly. And I don't think it's just something that you willy-nilly say, well, I'm not going to do it that way. Okay, so at any rate, thank you for showing up. I'll try to do this again tomorrow about the same time. We'll start with Article 4, like I said. The important things to remember from today: the 3 branches of government, legislative, executive, and judicial, and that the first 10 amendments are known as the Bill of Rights. Just important things when you're having discussions. The more you can use the terms, the more comfortable you will feel discussing these things. So, have a great day. I'm glad you came in. Thank you so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah.